You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Excited to have you with me today. Excited to get started on our Friday review. I don't know about you, but for me, it was a 4-day week, but it seemed like a really long week. A lot went on this week. I'm excited to share all of that with you. Literally just completed a full 12-hour day of seeing people and also probably speaking with half of those people by Skype online. It's been a great day. It's been a long day, but I am excited to bring you this week's Friday review, and that's because we have so much new going on. I want to share that with you. Plus, I want to get to our life hack. So one of the things I like to do each and every Friday is bring you some type of research or life hack that I believe that you can begin to implement right away in your life that actually means something. It's not arbitrary research or an arbitrary biohack. And I'm going to bring you either a book review or product review. Today is a very special book review, a really great book that I think is fun for everyone to keep in their own home library or work library. And of course, our super nutrient of the week, one of those vitamins that we all must have in our diet, but up to 39% of the population is deficient in it. So we'll get to that. Excited to go through all of that today. But the what's happening, the what's new, the thing that has me feeling like it's been such a busy week, such a long week, but really, again, it's only been 4 days that I've been here in the office, is that we are switching over everything, our entire operation, to a brand new shipping center. To why? Well, just do better. Like, we want to do better in terms of customer service. So our new shipping center ships out of Florida. They will get you your product in approximately 3 days. That's pretty amazing for a non-Amazon-based website, right? We'll be able to ship overseas to the UK faster. We'll be able to ship faster to Australia as well. And of course, Canada shouldn't be too long at all. So we're excited about that. We're also switching over to a brand new website. stephencabral.com will always exist, but it will no longer be the store where everybody goes to. So simply put, I want stephencabral.com to be the main hub. I want you to be able to find your way kind of to everything that I recommend from that spot. It could be other programs I recommend. It could be other just recommendations in general. It might be recommendations for books. But what stephencabral.com is going to be is the links to my private practice, where we see people in Boston, of course, all around the world through Skype. It will be a link to our body transformation studio, where we do personal training and nutrition in Boston, and that's at stephencabralstudio.com if you're in the Boston area. It will be to the certification, where we'll be training and teaching a lot of health, what we do to health coaches and people who want to become health coaches this fall, or people who just want to learn more about their own health, because not everyone will become a health coach from it. And then it will, of course, be the new store. The new store will be announced this coming weekend, or at least at the very, very latest by Monday. We're really excited about that. Simply put, it is really, I'll talk more about it next week, but it's the culmination of listening to all of the things that you want, which is being able to track your orders, right after checkout. It's being able to find products easier with the new search bar. It's narrowing things down into categories such as adrenal, thyroid, weight loss, wellness, anti-aging, children's, immunity, like just making it much, much easier for you. So that's always been the goal. The goal has always been to try to serve in the best way that we know how. A lot of times I just don't know. I don't know what's best for you until I hear all of your feedback and positive comments, constructive comments. We're trying our best. Always do feel free to let us know how we can do a better job. I kid around, but I really do. It does mean a lot to me. And all of these recommendations, honestly, it wasn't easy for us to do. It wasn't cheap for us to do, but we built a better website. We have a brand new shipping center. And all of that is simply because not what we were doing before was broken, because it wasn't. But we know that if we want to go from serving a couple thousand people a month to tens of thousands of people a month, that we need to have better systems and we need things to be better for you. So simply put, you'll hear more about that next week. And one of the things I'm most excited about is that we are really backing up everything we do with Equilibrium Nutrition. Almost every single one of the products, and soon every single one of the products you'll see, will have about a dozen scientific research and a scientific study references on each product. Very few products, if anyone, is doing this. It's just backing up. It's just showing you how these products are different. These products are built on getting you results, and they're proven to work through science as well as in the real world. Now, many of them are based on ancient-based nutrition, but that does not mean that it does not have modern-day scientific research backing up. So excited to bring you all of that research. So it's literally the best of Eastern medicine mixed with the best of Western-based natural health, and which is what we call functional medicine or bioregulatory medicine. Honestly, I can't wait to get it out to you. I'm excited, and it will grow. In the future, I'll be doing video how-tos on every single product page. Every single lab page will be directing you in easier ways. And so it will grow. It will absolutely grow because we're not stagnant. But I'm just, again, I want to get this out to you. And next week is that day that you will see that. We'll make it easy. Of course, if you go to StephenCabral.com/store, it's just going to direct you to the new website. So it'll be really, really simple. And just keep in mind, today is the very last day of our moving sale. Literally, as we say, everything must go. And the reason is, we would rather not pay for the shipping to ship everything from one shipping center to our next shipping center and then ship it out again to you. So that's like 3 times incurred shipping costs, probably more like 4 to get it to our manufacturer. So plain and simple, we're offering 25% off many. I think it's like somewhere around 24 products while supplies last. Today is the last day for that. Enjoy, and I look forward to being in touch more on what we have going on. So up next is our second part to our Friday review, one of my favorite. And this is called a life hack. This is something that I'm literally doing typically a lot of the time in my own household. My own family's doing it. And one thing that we got away from is, of course, like, I don't even know, a long time ago, a decade ago, we got away from all of those Clorox-based wipes and like the really chemical-based wipes, the Lysol wipes. And what we use are non-toxic varieties. We started using essential oil-based wipes, the thyme-based wipes, those really, really great. But now we've moved one step further to using our own at-home cleaner. So we use it for the countertop, we use it for the stove, or we use it for the kitchen table, we use it for the floor. So keep in mind, I have 2 young daughters, 3 and 5 years old, turning soon this summer and early fall, 4 and 6, which is kind of crazy to say. They keep getting older. And we make quite a bit of a mess in our house. So we're cleaning up smoothie bowls and fruit and all sorts of food off the table, off the floor of a French bulldog. And yes, he's helping to clean the floor, but he's making quite a bit of a mess himself. We use this homemade cleaner. Not only is it economical, saving us a lot of money than buying all of these wipes, but also there's not as much plastic involved with all of our Time Wipe bottles. So again, nothing wrong with that. But when possible, I'm just looking to kind of upgrade my life. This is going to be your June challenge. Can you do some of these at-home cleaners yourself? I like to give a new little challenge every month. And so for this month, all you need to do, I will link up everything in the show notes. Okay, everything in the show notes will be at StephenCabral.com/847. We use an amber bottle, and we also have a blue bottle as well. So just basically spray bottles. They're glass bottles. And we make our own home cleaner. It's so simple. It's very cheap, and it works phenomenally well. So when I say we, I mean my wife. My wife makes this great cleaner. She really does such a phenomenal job with household products, with skincare products, with all of these amazing things. So essentially, when we're like, hey, what are we using here? Because although I kind of know from all of my herbalism study what works, I'm like, what are you using? And so it's kind of cool. And so we talk about it, and then we might, change things up in the future. But really, this is what she does, and this is what I would recommend as well. So we use 8 ounces of distilled water. You could buy distilled water anywhere. Any grocer will essentially sell distilled water. We use 8 ounces of distilled white vinegar. You could buy organic distilled white vinegar, which is what we do. So essentially, you're using 1 cup distilled water, 1 cup of organic distilled white vinegar. You're using 2 to 3 squeezed and strained lemons. And then you're doing 20 to 30 drops or more, if you'd like, of essential oils. And some of the ones that I prefer are thyme, which is a great antimicrobial and antibacterial, and tea tree oil, which is an antifungal, antibacterial, and antimicrobial as well. Now, one other thing that we do that not everyone does is what we put in 1 teaspoon of Castile soap. And not everybody uses Castile soap because a lot of times, and there's probably a different pronunciation to Castile, but that's how I pronounce it, is that it suds up and it makes too much of a film. Well, the problem is they're using too much. That's usually the issue. So we're using a very small amount. It's 1 teaspoon. You can skip the Castile soap if you want. It's an add-on. It's a bonus. You do not need to use it. A lot of people also use 1 teaspoon of borax. Borax is a great antibacterial and antifungal as well. Again, you do not need to use those if you don't want. We've used borax before. We don't use it now. And we just use the Castile soap, the 8 ounces of white vinegar, the 8 ounces of the distilled water, the 2 to 3 squeezed and strained lemons, the essential oils such as thyme, tea tree, and then we add in lavender, eucalyptus, or orange for a nice scent. And you can choose any of those scents that you want. We use a ton of lavender in my house. We really do. We use a ton of lavender for sprays and kind of calming essential oils. But I love the smell of eucalyptus. And so that's one that I try to sneak in there. And orange is a great one to use as well as a disinfectant. All right, why does this work so well? I just want to give you always the why. So from a natural scientific perspective, natural health scientific perspective, distilled vinegar and lemons are extremely acidic. Okay, that means a very low pH. Anything acid-based will also help to kill bacteria and microbes. So they work great. Now, a lot of people might be saying, yeah, but lemons are supposed to be alkaline. Well, it's true. As they get metabolized when you eat them in your body, they're acid in the mouth, they're acid in the stomach, and as they get metabolized, well, it's more alkalizing for the body. Why would it be more alkalizing for the body? Simply because of the high levels of minerals, namely potassium. So that's why. So it's acid, though, when it first touches it. Okay, so lemon in your eyes, not going to feel good. Why? Acid. Okay, that's why. And essential oils are typically acidic as well. Very acidic, meaning they're very, very strong. So this just makes for a great natural cleaner, and that's why we can use this from a natural spray bottle. Again, you can use an amber bottle or a blue glass bottle. They're obviously plastic-free, except for the spout at the top. And that will allow you to just keep it under your kitchen counter. It's not going to go bad because it is acid-based, so it's its own preserving formula. And you can use it as needed. How much should you use? Well, you use enough to cover the surface area where the entire surface area gets wet as you use a paper towel or a cloth, depending on what you would like to use. I'll link everything up today at stephencabral.com/847. The distilled vinegar, although you can get that anywhere. The distilled water, you can get that anywhere. But I'll link up the spray bottles. I'll link up the tea tree oil thyme as well. So hopefully that was helpful. That is my June challenge, to start to use a little less of all of these kind of just disposable products that we just throw out all the time, and use one that is essentially recyclable. You just keep using it every day, and you don't even have to use paper towels. You can use a cloth if you prefer. Okay, so that was our life hack. And next up, I want to bring you a fun little book. This one is called Nature's Remedies, an illustrated guide to healing herbs. Such a fun book. I actually haven't come across a fun book in a while, because a lot of the books that I'm reading, to be honest, are, well, they're pretty in-depth, or they are more scientific study-based, meaning like a lot of the ones that I'm going through right now are either early 1900s written by doctors that I love reading their research, or they're cutting-edge doctors, or they are scientific studies that are being done now. I still read what's common. Like if there's a popular book on Amazon, guaranteeing you, I bought it and I've read it. And the reason is I want to know what you're reading. I want to know what's out there. I love reading in general, and I love new perspectives. So of course I'm doing those. But this book right here it's a great book. It's very approachable. And I also believe it's great for the whole family. So if you have kids, this is a fun book. Why do I say that? It's a small book, and on every other page, they actually have a drawing. They have an illustration of the herb itself. What we're doing is we're basically looking on the left-hand page. It will say an herb like yarrow. And on the right-hand page, we'll show what yarrow looks like. Kind of like, almost like, not quite a dandelion, but it has these little white flowers with a larger head at the top. And then it will tell you the origin of where this herb comes from. And this one, specifically, if we're talking about yarrow, on page 46, is from Asia and Europe. And then it goes through a little bit of history of the herb. And again, we're talking maybe 10 to 12 sentences maximum. This is a small kind of pocket-based book. And then it talks about what it's typically used for. And with yarrow, it's used for bruises, it's used for cramping, it's used for common colds. It helps to induce sweat, like it helps with some types of fevers, natural anti-inflammatory. So, it's a really nice guidebook. And I think it's one of those ways that if you are interested in starting to learn more about herbs and herbalism and herbal-based medicine, well, this is an easy way to get into it. I remember my very first Ayurvedic book was just this tiny little book that talked about Ayurveda, but it was my intro. It wasn't this overwhelming book on herbalism, right? You can get into that later if you're very much into it. But it's a great book for kids. It's a great book for everybody. And it's fun to have as a coffee table book. It's fun to keep in your home. So anyway, that's my recommendation of the day, or the week at least, for my favorite little herbalism book. I think it's fantastic. Not only do I have one at home, not only do I show it to my kids as well, but I keep one in my private practice in Boston on our kind of coffee table in the waiting area when people come in so they can kind of look at the book themselves. Very approachable. It's fun. It gets people into more using herbs for specific remedies, and this is a great intro. All right, next up is our super nutrient of the week, and that super nutrient of the week is none other than vitamin B12. Now, I know we've been doing our super nutrient of the week since the beginning of January 2018 is when it started. And the reason why I haven't done B12 is because everyone talks about B12, right? They talk about B12 quite often, so I wanted to wait a while before I spoke about it. But I will tell you this. Vitamin B12 is an extremely common deficiency with a minimum. This is given by the overall, like when we look at National Institute of Health, who's very, very conservative, right? Very conservative. They're saying up to 15% of people, right? But when we look at a traditional study and when we look at like more crossover, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, I actually like the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, published that, and this is way back in 2000, it's probably even less now, or meaning like more people are more deficient. Up to 39% of the population is deficient in B12. So important that we look at this as a functional deficiency versus almost like a disease-based deficiency, right? Because so many people are functionally deficient in B12 that they might not have a disease, but they're showing up with things like chronic fatigue or feeling tired or having brain fog. They have muscle aches or muscle weakness. They have joint pain. They might have difficulty breathing or feeling a little short of breath, kind of fuzzy thinking or poor memory, inability to concentrate, lower mood or anxiety, maybe even feeling a little bit dizzy, lightheaded, heart palpitations, gum-based disease, or at least gum inflammation. Inflammation's a big one with B12. Digestive issues, anything with loose stool, diarrhea, or potentially even nausea. It's uncommon, but nausea is a potential side effect of vitamin B12 deficiency. Poor appetite, that goes with a lot of B vitamins, but specifically B12. And then really just when we're talking about, certain types of anemia, that's when we get more to the disease-based state of B12, and same with Alzheimer's or dementia. But remember, there's functional deficiencies, which essentially goes with, I would say it's poor concentration and poor energy. Like if you want to sum it up, that's what B12 is all about. Poor concentration and memory, thinking, and poor energy. So those are functional deficiencies, and it's one of those things that we do need to look at, because I work with a lot of people, and I definitely move in that direction towards more of a vegan-based diet. I'm not saying that everyone should follow a vegan-based diet. I'm not saying that I even follow a completely vegan-based diet. But I will tell you that a lot of people, and I've spoken about this on many, many interviews. One of those was on Melissa Ambrosini's, and I went through all of the different ways that you can get all of your vitamins on a vegan diet. I went through step by step on that interview, which should actually be coming out shortly, of all of the different ways. But I'll tell you this, is that B12 is one of the only vitamins that vegans really can't get enough of. And I talked about why back in the day, if you were vegan, you may have gotten enough of that. I don't want to spoil it. I'm gonna actually announce that on the show right there. But the only way that you can really get it through a vegan-based diet is, I call them food supplements, okay? It's nutritional yeast. It might be algae-based products. Those are really the main ways, because the other ways are just really cyanocobalamin, which is a form of B12, but it's really a synthetic form that's added to grain-based products. It's not naturally there. They fortify it. That doesn't really count, because really, if you're taking in vitamin B12 as a supplement, you want to be taking it as methylcobalamin or really adenosylcobalamin, not the cyanocobalamin, which is B12, or cobalamin, which B12 is essentially cobalamin. And it's attached then to a cyanide-based molecule. And it's not as insanely harmful as it does sound, but it's certainly not healthy for you. And I wouldn't be taking that. It's the difference between functional medicine and buying your vitamins where you buy your dish soap and toilet paper. You just don't want to buy them at the same place because you get your cheapest stuff at a local drugstore or local like bulk buying store. You want to buy your vitamins through like you would buy organic food. You want to buy it through a functional medicine-based company. And there are so many great companies. Of course, I formulate for Equilibrium Nutrition, and it's the highest quality, products available. But on our website, we don't make our own B12. So we actually promote other companies that make a phospholipid version of B12. So very well absorbed. I'll link that up in the show notes. Again, Equilibrium Nutrition and myself, we try to represent the best of everything that's out there. So we don't own any lab tests. We just represent the best of whatever lab tests are out there. We don't own the lab companies. The B12, it's a product that we already think is great, so we don't need to formulate our own. Like our goal is never to formulate every product in the world. It's simply if the product doesn't exist, we want to try to make it better and use it in my practice. And then obviously offer it to you, because why not? Why not? I mean, why not offer it to everyone? That's the goal. So let's talk a little bit more though, just because you can get B12 from certain foods, but it's mainly like grass-fed meats, it's wild-caught fish, it's organ meat, it's grass-fed dairy-based products. If you're going to have dairy, I absolutely recommend more of a goat-based or sheep-based product, and it's pastured-based eggs. So those are ways from a paleo-based perspective, you'll be able to get your B12. You can test your B12 levels from a very functional level by running organic acids test. That is by far and away, my favorite lab test for vitamins. The organic acids test, yes, we use it mainly for digestive purposes to see if you have candida overgrowth or bacterial overgrowth, but we use it to look at neurotransmitter waste markers, mitochondrial markers, liver detoxification, digestion, phosphoric acid, but it looks at all of your B vitamins from a functional perspective, meaning like people need to, and again, this goes back to the medical establishment. So now doctors are like, oh yeah, we need to test for B12, so let's test B12 in the blood. It doesn't work that way. You can't just test B12 because it means that it's available, but it does not say whether it's being used. So you need to test something on your blood work or through something like the organic acids test that looks at something called methylmalonic acid. Methylmalonic acid is the waste marker from used up B12. Now, if you look at methylmalonic acid, you get to see how much was used. Was it within a healthy range or was it in a high range? And a high range can often mean that your body needs or is using or has a call for greater amounts of B12. That's why it's so important to really work with a functional medicine practitioner or just, again, study up on this yourself because you can do that. My goal is to turn everyone, like this September, I want to turn everyone into their own health coach or at least their family's health coach. You might never use it in practice, but we all need to learn this. This is what we would have learned hundreds of years ago, passed down from our grandparents to our parents to community leaders to the family. And then this is the only way, it's the only way that we're going to make a difference 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 100 years from now, is if that everyone starts to relearn, because it's really a relearning, it's a re-education of what it takes to be a healthy human, especially in the day and age where there's so much pollution, there's so many toxins, and there's over 77,000 man-made chemicals in the environment, many of which, if not most of which, can cause cancer. This is clinically proven. I talk about it in the rain barrel effect. I talk about it. I show you the clinical studies. Remember, in that book, there are over 300 citations of clinical studies. This is not made up. This is what we're dealing with. This is what people are not sharing with you, okay? So, really happy to talk about a product like B12. And the reason is that B12, the big benefits, of course, we talked about that, right? But it's helping to maintain healthy energy levels. It's helping to maintain memory and just really stave off cognitive decline, stave off dementia, stave off Alzheimer's. But one of the big things that B12 does that really people aren't talking about, a couple things, okay? So I want to talk about those today. One is it helps the nervous system. It helps actually to protect the myelin sheath around the nervous system, around your nerves. And when that gets worn away through stress and inflammation, well, it affects the entire nervous system, okay? But B12 is also used for detoxification. It's also used in terms of methylation and in terms of anti-inflammatory from a genetic-based perspective. Like, let's just say you have MTHFR heterozygous or homozygous genetic-based gene mutations. They're called single nucleotide polymorphisms. Maybe I'm getting too deep. You don't need to know all this. But what it means is that if you inherited one or two copies of that, well, you might not be processing things such as S-adenosylmethionine, which helps with detoxification, but it also helps with neurological function, and it also helps with anxiety, right? So let's say you're someone that's anxious and nervous, and you have kind of a nervous gut, and you're more prone to depression. Well, B12 might be something that you need more of from a functional, meaning like you need the methylcobalamin, and the reason is that your body is not doing a great job at taking the synthetic versions and being able to actually use that from a biological standpoint. The other thing that B12 is amazing for is healthy skin and hair. A lot of people have red, blotchy skin, dry skin, a little bit of inflammation on the skin, meaning like it's just kind of like rashy and inflamed. B12 can absolutely help with that. B12 helps with the brittleness of hair, brittleness of nails. It's not the only thing. I've talked about that before. Also, you need your selenium and you need biotin and you need all of those things. Those are tested on both an organic acids test and a hair tissue mineral analysis. That's why I always tell people, if you're confused about which lab test to start with our starter kit. And that's the organic acids test and that's the hair tissue mineral analysis. It tells you all of your vitamins that you need or you're deficient on, and it tells you all of your minerals as well. Really, really great. And the last thing that I'll just share is that you need B12, obviously, to help build up those red blood cells, oxygenate them. But there's a lot of studies being shown right now that you need B12 to boost the immune system in order to prevent cancer. So what do? Well, people who are functionally deficient in B12, they've run the organic acids test and they're low in it or there's a greater demand for it. We supplement with B12 for anywhere between 3 and 6 months. I supplemented with it before, way back in the day when I needed it, along with B6. Okay, I'll link that up in the show notes today at stephencabral.com/847. Okay. For the most people, you'll get enough B12 by simply using the daily nutritional support. It's well above the recommended daily allowance, and we do that because the recommended daily allowance is only going to help you to prevent things like anemia, but it's not going to help prevent functional deficiency, okay? So the daily nutritional support is what I recommend. Of course, if you don't want to do a shake every day, you can use the daily activated vitamin. That's your prerogative, okay? It's your prerogative on how you want to get your vitamins. And for those people who are under a great amount of stress, okay, they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling anxious, their body's run down, they need an energy boost, and they need a brain boost, I recommend 1 capsule of the activated B complex every day at lunch or at breakfast. That will give you additional B12, but it will also give you the benefits of all of the other B vitamins such as B1, B2, B3, B5. You're looking at folate. You're looking at all of the other synergists that go along with those B vitamins, and it will help if you have, or don't even know that you have, one of those genetic markers for increased inflammation. So I'll link up the DNA test today. But what I want to do is just allow you, whether you run the DNA test, whether you run the organic acids test, whether you run the hair tissue mineral analysis as a starter kit, is simply to get started. You know, you really can get started. Yes, you can lab test, but just get started. Use something like the daily nutritional support. Use the activated B complex if you want. It doesn't have to be forever. Maybe use it for 3 or 4 months. Maybe use it for 6 months max. And then you come off of that and you just maintain with like the Dr. Cabral daily protocol or something like that, right? That will literally give you back a lot of the things that you may be deficient in. I call it kind of like the feel safe, all the things that you might be deficient in. So we can use that. And then if you know you're deficient in B12 and you need just a bigger dose, like 5,000 micrograms a day or something like that, well, certainly you could have that compounded through, if you want, a compounding pharmacy, or you can simply use a sublingual liquid to keep under your tongue, hold it there for 2 minutes or so, and then swallow it. And that will allow you to absorb that B12 and get it at a higher level. All of those are absolutely fantastic. It simply matters where you're at right now, where you're at in your health journey, what you need, has it been shown in a lab test, and then you can move forward from there. So hopefully today's podcast was helpful. Hopefully this information was helpful. If I can do anything else in the future, if you'd like to see anything else reviewed as one of our super nutrients of the week, anything that you want to see reviewed on a Friday review, I'd be happy to check that out. Just go to Instagram. Just go to my name, Stephen Cabral, on Instagram. Let me know what you think on today's show notes on Instagram. Be happy to check out what you have to say, comment back. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing weekend. And as always, thank you for tuning in to the Cabral Concept. And please do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could help. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.